Hi, it's Maria. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Maria. I don't think anybody else can.
Okay, I heard that.
So this one, first of all, what information? It says Jim equals. Okay. Well, uh, X represents the numbers. So we'll put X. So X equals, and it's twice the number of Barbara plus 5, right? There's 5 more, twice the number or something. So it would be 2 Barbara plus 5. Okay. So if we want to know how many CVs Barbara has, we need to rearrange this word B. Okay. You're going to divide that by 2, but by 2. That's one. Not just the 2B, but the 5 as well. Which you can do, then just add fractions.
I don't know.
Well, how would you isolate that? Is there any addition or subtraction you can do? That's not a thing you can do. So we can subtract 5. We're just undoing the things. So we subtract 5. We have X is 5 equals 2B. Now the only thing left to do is divide by 2.
It's Maria. Can you hear me? Andy, I still don't hear you. Do you want me to try to leave and sign back on again? Hi, it's Maria.
Also, good job.
Andy and Jared, it shows you're unmuted, but I do not have any sound.
But then we press the case.
This is Jeff with ALC.
I can hear that.
Yep, I can hear you too, but I can't hear the council.
No, can't hear the council.
Yeah, we're in the same boat. Jared's laughing
Okay,
and Andy was waving, but we can't hear anything.
okay.
I did the same thing you did. I logged on and got back on same time you did.
Okay. Well, it's good to know it's not me.
Yeah, I was a little worried too.
So. Yeah, this one.
Maria, can you hear me now?
I think I heard Joy.
Maria, can you hear me?
I can hear Joy, yes.
Yay.
You hear me now, this is Commissioner Seal?
I can.
Perfect. Yep. Well, you win. We are now waiting on Commissioner Rivera again, so.
Okay.
Well, in case you didn't hear, Maria, we are waiting on Commissioner Rivera to arrive so that we have a quorum.
Okay.
Mr. Likes, can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear. I heard Commissioner Seal as well.
Thank
Yep,
you.
we're good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera, are you online now?
Yes, I am here. This is Commissioner Rivera.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera, this is Kurt Starman. Can you hear me?
I can.
So we haven't started the meeting yet. We were waiting for you to make quorum. My question of you is sort of be a little bit awkward, and I apologize, but we just want to make sure, obviously, our obligation is to have, a process that is fair to the applicants and to the public, and that, we people are entitled to due process. So I just want to make sure before we get going here that you feel, I don't know exactly, I know you were stuck in traffic. So do you feel comfortable and confident in proceeding, and you can, give the issues the attention they require? Are you comfortable proceeding remotely?
Yes, I can proceed remotely. I apologize, but I am available to proceed.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, then I'll turn it back over to Chairman Seal to get us going.
Good evening and welcome to Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for March 16th, 2023. At this time, I would like to call the meeting to order. Commissioners who are present for this evening's meeting are at City Hall and on Zoom. And we also have staff from the city attorney and clerk's offices, as well as the city planning department. If you're joining on Zoom this evening, we can see that you are here. You may observe the meeting. However, your ability to be seen on screen and talk will be muted. During the public testimony portion of the meeting, you will be unmuted and then be able to comment. Please note that we cannot take questions until the public testimony portion. If you have process questions during the meeting, please email cityclerk@meridiancity.org and they will reply as quickly as possible. With that, let's begin with roll call. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Lorcher,
Here.
Commissioner Rivera, Commissioner Smith, Commissioner Seal.
Here.
Absent are Commissioner Grace, Wheeler, and Stoddard.
Thank you very much. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Noodles and Company at 10 Mile, file number H 2022-0087 will be opened. About that. We open for the sole purpose of continuing to a regularly scheduled meeting. Will be open for only that purpose. So if you're here tonight to testify on that application, we will not be taking testimony on them this evening. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda as amended?
Moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the agenda as amended. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Next item on the consent agenda the next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and we have two items on the consent agenda. First is to approve the minutes of the March 2nd, 2023 Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. Second is the finding of facts, conclusions of law for Paris in-home daycare, file number H 2022-0093. Can I get a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to accept the consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Okay, motion carries. Okay, at this time, I'll explain the public hearing process. We will open each item individually and begin with the staff report. Staff will report their findings on how the item adheres to our comprehensive plan and unified development code. And I usually don't read it this fast, so I apologize, but we are behind tonight. After staff has made their presentation, the applicant will come forward to present their case and respond to staff comments. They will have 15 minutes to do so. After the applicant is finished, we will open the floor to public testimony. Each person will be called on only once during the public testimony. The clerk will call the names individually of those who have signed up on our website in advance to testify. You will then be unmuted in Zoom, or you can come to the microphones and chambers. Please state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes to address the commission. You have previously sent pictures or a presentation for the meeting. It will be displayed on the screen. You can run the presentation. If you have established that you are speaking on behalf of a larger group like an HOA, where others from that group will yield their time to allow you to speak on their behalf, you will have up to 10 minutes. After all those who have signed up in advance have spoken, we will invite any others who may wish to testify. If you wish to speak on topic, you may come forward in chambers or if on Zoom, please press the raise hand button. If you are only listening on a phone, please press *9 and wait for your name to be called. If you're listening on multiple devices, such as a computer and a phone, please be sure to mute those extra devices so we do not experience feedback and we can hear you clearly. When you are finished, if the commission does not have questions for you, you will return to your seat in chambers or be muted on Zoom. You will no longer have the ability to speak. Please remember, we generally do not call on people a second time. After all testimony has been heard, the applicant will be given another 10 minutes to come back and respond. When the applicant is finished responding to questions and concerns, we will close the public hearing. The commissioners will have the opportunity to discuss and hopefully be able to make a final decision or recommendation to city council as needed. At this time, I would like to continue public hearing for the item variance request from a department determination concerning a proposed addressing change for 2201 East Gala Street by the Orm family and Implant Dentistry. And we will begin staff report.
Chairman and Commissioners, my name is Mercedes Amador with Land Development. I know there's some new commissioners, so I'm going to go ahead and give a quick synopsis of the background and the history of this variance. Planning and Zoning Commission held a hearing for this variance on February 2nd. Commission ultimately continued the hearing, requested the staff to meet with Dr. Orm and Mountain View Point Dental to explore possible solutions. On Wednesday, February 15th, Joe Bongiorno, John Shane, Seth Oakes and I met with Dr. Orm and Sean Wasden with Mountain View Point Dental at 2201 East Gala. City staff presented options that would meet the requirements for assigning suite numbers to the building. The first option discussed was for both dentists that occupy the building to form a partnership. Both doctors expressed that they would prefer to maintain the autonomy that they have. The second option presented was doing a tenant improvement, adding walls to separate both spaces, creating 2 suites in order for us to create those suite numbers. Unfortunately, they do not meet all 7 of the findings in the Meridian City Code 8211A. There are 2 that I would like to point out directly. The first being the request will not grant a right or special privilege to the property owner. We have denied several other offices for this same request before. And I believe accepting or approving this variance would provide or give the owner a special privilege over the others that we've denied. Second is the variance requested will not adversely affect the health, safety, and welfare of the community. Joe Bongiorno from the fire department has submitted a letter to commission recommending the denial of this variance due to safety issues. City staff is still recommending the commission deny the variance for the assignment of the 2 separate suites for 2201 East Gala.
Okay, thank you very much. The applicant like to come forward?
Mr. Chairman, can I interject just for a moment? I
Actually,
just want for the record and also for the applicant and the audience. So this is a continued public hearing. The commission has heard this issue once before. The matter was continued and we're now taking the matter back up. We've added 2 new commissioners to the body since this was first heard. So Commissioner Smith was not a member of Planning and Zoning Commission at that time. And likewise, Enrique, Commissioner Rivera also was not a member. So I chatted with them in advance and gave them 2 choices. One is they can recuse if they don't feel comfortable participating because they missed the first meeting. They could recuse from this item, or in the alternative, if they would review the minutes and the video or the video and be prepared to take action, that's fine as well. But for due process reasons, we want to make sure that the commissioners either recuse or make a comment on the record that they've reviewed the minutes from the previous public hearing and are prepared to take action tonight. So Perhaps Commissioners Smith and Rivera can comment on that and what they would like to do, and then we can proceed.
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm aware that the original hearing for this took place before my appointment, I think in February. I've since reviewed that hearing, the video and minutes, and all relevant materials, and I'm ready to proceed in an informed manner.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Rivera, how do you respond?
I also have reviewed the video and minutes and all materials pertaining to this, and I feel confident in moving forward with
Okay.
being part of this conversation.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you, Garrett. I appreciate it. Now would the applicant like to come forward?
Good evening, Commissioner and Chairman. Thank you for having us here today. I'm Tricia Bundy. Do you want me to state my address?
Yes, please.
Okay, 2773 North Rock Cliffs in Kuna, Idaho. I am employed at Orm Family and Implant Dentistry. I want to apologize that Dr. Orm was not able to make it tonight. He had a last minute complication that prevented him from coming. However, I'm going to represent Orm Family and Implant Dentistry today. Just as Mercedes stated, they were able to come to our office and walk around. And the deputy fire chief was able to give his recommendations on where to place doors that would separate the two suites. So we took those recommendations and found an architect who has provided a drawing for you. And his name is Tim Grissom. And he's going to kind of talk to you about what he determined moving forward. Is it all right if I invite him?
Absolutely.
Right.
Good evening, sir. Need your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Tim Grissom, address 1606 West Hayes Street, Boise, Idaho. So I also reviewed the staff report and the letter from the deputy fire chief. And everything that's in your packet tonight, basically. I do believe that the goal of the dentist office can be achieved without doing a tenant improvement. Those of you who are here got a letter that I wrote. Those of you who aren't here, I'm sorry, I don't believe you have access to that. But I'll kind of run through it. So basically the staff report had two objections for the variance. One was health, safety, and welfare. The other was special privilege. In the letter from the deputy fire chief mentioned that when emergency crews show up on site, they expect signage, or I can even quote it directly here, expect to see a clearly marked suite and door to enter into. I think the real issue there is wayfinding. They need to be able to find where they're going quickly, respond to the emergency. I don't think clear signage could be just as effective as a door, possibly more effective, since the door is just a hindrance getting to where you need to go. So as long as the entrance to the suite is clear, I think the door is. So that kind of covers the life safety aspect of it. The special privilege part, I looked through the city code where it states that separate tenant spaces can get suite numbers. What the code doesn't specify is that separate tenant spaces need to have physical barriers between them. And tenant space, that term is not defined in the definitions of the city code. So it's doesn't seem like there's grounds to say that two dentists operating in this building don't have separate tenant spaces. Because there's nothing in the city code that says those spaces need to have physical barriers between them. Just
All right, thank you. The applicant like to add anything beyond that? No. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant or staff at this time?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Have a question for I guess both the applicant and staff. Partially to jog my memory, make sure I understood the proper conversation in the original hearing. And then second, for clarity, if that understanding is correct. So I believe in the original hearing, when the applicant came forward, they were mentioning that this is something that they've heard, that this insurance issue was something that they've heard of other businesses struggling with. And then there was response from staff. And again, this is my memory of reviewing this, but there was response from staff that this wasn't an issue that they had seen commonly. But now I'm seeing that this is a request that staff routinely denies. One, can we confirm that that my understanding of what was on video, maybe it got mixed up in the audio feed or something, that's the correct understanding? And then second, if that was the case, Mercedes, could you provide a little bit of clarity around kind of what?
Of course, yes. So we have not denied anybody else we've denied people that wanted separate suite numbers, yes. When there is no two separate, suites or several other suites. I have not seen it come up where it's an insurance purpose. So there,
That makes
Okay.
more sense. I was
okay,
confused. Okay. That's the insurance specifically is the issue that you haven't seen.
Correct.
Not the, thank you.
Have a follow-up on that?
No, I do have some more, but I think I'll wait for additional testimony.
Okay. Commissioners Lorcher or Rivera, do you have any questions for applicant or staff at this time?
This is Commissioner Lorcher. No, I do not.
Okay.
This is Commissioner Rivera, not at this time. I don't have any.
Sorry, we didn't catch all that. Can you repeat, please?
Oh, it's this Commissioner Rivera. I don't have any questions at this time.
Okay, thank you. Mercedes, go ahead.
Chairman, if I may. Joe Bongiorno is online via Zoom. I'm gonna go ahead and give him a chance to comment if you'd like.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Good
you.
evening, Chief Bongiorno. We'll need your name and address for the record, please.
You betcha. Deputy Chief Joe Bongiorno, Meridian Fire Department, 33 East Broadway, Meridian, Idaho, 83642. I just wanted to add a little more. So I'm here to support Mercedes. And after I met with the applicant, I did go back through my inspection program to see what's going on with the rest of the dentists that I have in my system. And what I found was we had dentist office with anywhere from 1 to 5 dentists with one address. So so I am with Mercedes that this is granting a special privilege for these people because I have them all over the city that do the same thing. That have multiple dentists in one office with one address, or it's Suite 101 is Dr. Jones and Suite 102 is Dr. Smith and Suite 103, and they are separate suites with walls and everything. So you can't get from 101 to 102. So now as far as the life safety part goes, I just wanted to reiterate for me and my fire crews, it's life safety because we're simple people, we're simple thinkers. If someone says you're going to 2021 East Gala Street, Suite 101, I'm going to expect to walk into Suite 101, go back to whatever room and not end up in a big circle. Because now it's, where am I? Picture the building full of smoke, whatever. Because if the building's full of smoke, I'm not going to be able to see the signs hanging on the wall, letting me know that, hey, there's you can go all the way around and not know it. So for me, we met with them. It was only one wall and then some additional changes up at the front to separate 101 from 102. And so that way for us, it's clear and succinct, I can't say that word, as to where we're going. And it's very obvious where we're going, and we're not going to end up in a big circle running around the building in a giant circle. So for us, it's keep it simple. And this is not simple, it's confusing. And for the fire department, police, EMS, it will cause problems. And so that's why I recommended denial, because we have tons of other occupancies in this city where this happens all the time. And this is the first one that's ever come forward and said, well, it doesn't work for us. So that's my thoughts on it.
Thank you very much, Chief Bongiorno. Is there anybody else that would like to come up and testify on this? Nobody in chambers? The applicant have anything else to add? Come on. Oh, please wait until you get up in front of the microphone. We got to record everything. Thank you.
I don't think I've fully completed my thought before on the special privilege part. I realize this would be a different decision than the city has made before. I think the decisions the city has made before are not fully based on what the code says. I think we're not granting special privilege to this applicant. It's just that we're understanding what the code says and then going forward.
Okay. Thank you. Right, commissioners, there's any further questions or anything before we close the public testimony?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Smith, go ahead.
I have a few questions.
Yep.
Questions for council around the idea of a special privilege in code. If trying to wrap my head around this, my understanding of special privilege is that the city makes a determination, similar fact patterns, and makes different determinations for perhaps arbitrary reasons, for example. Would the fact that this applicant has asked for a variance significantly alter that fact pattern to where that special privilege would no longer be an issue? What I'm getting at is, this is apparently so as we've heard, this is the first time that this has been brought up as an issue. It seems like the fact, at least at first glance, that this process is being engaged would render that not a special privilege, as they underwent a different process. They sought a variance from the city and a body in a way the other applicants have not done. Is that a correct understanding? Am I wrong? Am I misunderstanding something about the law here?
Chairman Seal and Commissioner Smith, I think that's a good description. I mean, in some ways, a variance is by definition a special privilege. We're deviating from the standard code. I liked your description a moment ago in terms of we want to be consistent in terms of how we interpret the code and how we apply the code, and that we're not being capricious or arbitrary in our interpretations and applications. So I think that's a good guiding star for the commission this evening, is to we want to adhere to we want to be consistent with our interpretation of the code and treat each applicant in a similar manner, not we do it one way today and do it another way tomorrow.
Sure. Go ahead. Another question for you now on the specific, on the idea of tenant suites. I know the applicant has discussion of the code about there's nothing stating that the tenant suites must be physically divided by a wall or door. As you know, I'm not an expert in the code by any means, but I imagine that you are. So does that in your eyes comply with either the spirit or the text of the city code in a way that is has legal standing? Are there any legal issues with that? Is that perhaps not inaccurate. I'm just trying to make sure I understand the code fully from all angles.
Thank you, Chairman Seal and Commissioner Smith. I'd offer a couple thoughts with regard to that topic. First, the applicant mentioned there's not a definition of the term tenant suite, and we include many definitions in the code, but we don't define every term, and so that very well may be the case. When that's the case, two things come into play. One is we apply, this is true in the context of the UDC, but also just more broadly in terms of interpretation of law and statute. We apply the common meaning of the term or the plain meaning of that term as it's commonly understood in that context. And the next thought I would offer is that courts are very deferential to, in interpretations of zoning codes, very deferential to the approving body or the body that implemented the code in terms of interpretation. And so courts typically will defer unless the body's being arbitrary or capricious. Courts will typically defer to that entity's, the body's interpretation of its code. So in an ideal world, we like it when definitions are clear and everybody is on the same page. I think staff's interpretation of the term tenant suite is well reasoned and sound and is being applied correctly in this context.
Mr. Chair.
Go right ahead.
I have another question for either staff or perhaps Deputy Chief Bongiorno. Again, I'm trying to approach this as a layman, which is easy because I am one. But I was sitting in Costco the other day getting an eye exam, and I was thinking, couldn't get this issue out of my mind, and I'm thinking of a case in which, say, there's a medical emergency in a Costco. And whether the fact that, say, someone says it's in the dairy section, someone calls 911, says there's a fire or someone has collapsed in the dairy section in Costco. Does the fact that there is a retaining wall around that section change anything in terms of the navigation for fire EMS versus if it were in an aisle that doesn't have a wall? Or for example, say someone calls 911 and there's a fire here at City Hall and they say it's in a conference room. Regardless, that could be the I think CD 12 conference room in community development. That could be this conference room here. I think the idea of wayfinding, I think there's something here that I'm missing that I'd like to be educated about on the emergency response side. I'm not fully understanding how that significantly impedes understanding of where the issue is. Like if you're in an open space where you're otherwise not expecting an open space, it should be, in my mind, easier to locate the issue. And as for the signage issue, I imagine that if smoke is obscuring your vision of a sign, it would probably obscure your vision of a label of a door that would say, hey, this is where 101 is as well. So I'm just trying to understand, from the best, I'm trying to steel man this position on the firefighter side. If you could just walk me through that decision-making process of, if you walk into this area and you're expecting perhaps a wall or a door and there's not one, how does the lack of a door impede you in a way that, the signs wouldn't assist? I imagine those signs could be theoretically the same way an exit sign is illuminated. I imagine there could be, and I'm not going to get specifics there, but I imagine there are these things that the applicant could likely do to assist in the wayfinding aspect. So I'm missing something, and I'm wondering if you have any thoughts about that. Admittedly long.
Sure. Mr. Chairman and Commissioner Smith. So again, what Mr. Starman explained is what, we take a suite as it's a single space. Suite 101 is a single space. Costco is a large building. And if someone said we're in the photo or we're in the vision area of Costco, okay, yeah, that's easy to find because we know where that is. We all know what, when you say Costco, you know, TVs, you know, the snacks, meat, wine, food. We all know what a Costco looks like. And so for us, it's the same thing with a suite. When I walk in somewhere and I walk in the front door and I'm looking for suite 101 or 102, I'm going to look to the left and I'm going to look to the right, or it may have the wayfinding signs to find that suite. But when I get to that suite, my anticipation and my crew's anticipation is, this is the space we're going into to get to this issue, whatever it is, either whether it be a fire or whether it be grandma's having a heart attack or whatever. So when we go into a space and we're expecting a single space, and then it turns into a big circle, and we're like, okay, where the heck are we? Because maybe staff is back tending to grandma, doing CPR on her, and there's nobody there to meet us. We don't know what, you know, we're walking in circles now, hitting all the doors, trying to find out where we're going. So it's wasted time. Time is important for CPR, as you all know, the golden hour. Time, trying to remember what Chief Bloom always says. Time is tissue. As time goes on, the tissue dies and we have problems. So for us, that's why we looked at their space, found the dividing spot. And I said, you don't even have to build a wall here. I mean, hire a glazer, a glass company to come in, put mullion around here and just put sheeting in it to separate the spaces. Now, when we go in and if we're running around, we hit a wall, we're like, oh, we must have missed it. Let's go back. But in their case, we're in a giant circle. So we're walking around and around. Plus, now you throw the basement in, that just makes it even more difficult. So that makes it even harder for us. So again, the expectation is for a room with barriers. Mercedes and I just met with somebody yesterday. They have 30-ish suites in one space. But again, you go in, there's a wayfinding sign, and each one is its own little space. It has a door, it has, you know, whatever in it. So it makes sense. This application does not make sense to me because it leaves it open for giant circles. And again, when we're in that time crunch, we're trying to get in there, find the patient and get going. And we don't always have somebody there to meet us. Sometimes we have to get the Knox keys in. You know, I've fallen, I'm in the building. Okay, we'll get the Knox keys out. We'll open the door. We'll go in and we'll come find you. Where are you? Well, I'm in suite 101. Now we're in a big circle trying to, hello, 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 hello. Or I'm down in the basement. You know, they had a dance studio down there for a while. You know, I broke my ankle. I'm down in the dance studio by myself. Okay, well. So again, it's the expectation, I think, is what the issue is.
Thank you. I think that it seems to me that it's the idea of accidentally exiting the suite rather than entering the suite is the main issue.
For me, it is, yes.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, I have a question of the applicant. Yep. So looking at this, and I know you've met with Deputy Chief, the applicant, but I am looking at this this item that we received of this kind of signed area, and I'm seeing my head. I know there was discussion of a wall or a sheet or a pane or something in the original, maybe not the original meeting, but in the documentation of your meeting and follow up with the deputy chief. But I'm looking at here and I'm imagining, I'm seeing maybe 3 spots where a door could be put in, and to deputy chief testimony, I imagine that doesn't have to be a full, you know, a door with a full floor to ceiling wall with the door breaking it. I imagine it could be something simpler, but basically on the perimeter of that green zone of the common area, I'm imagining there's probably, there's there's 3 spots for doors, one where there already exists going to the stairwell. And then, on I'm assuming this isn't cardinal directions on this, the north and the west side. There could be doors there as well, and then one between, the 2 suites on that far north end, where the sterilization area kind of is above that. It seems like that, to my mind, that doesn't seem to be that complex of an improvement. It seems to be something pretty simple. I'm kind of inclined to agree with Chief there, but just to the applicant, is there anything that is concerning about putting an improvement there, or putting some doors or something that's relatively minor, but adds definition and clarity for EMS around preventing them from accidentally exiting a suite, as we've heard that statement.
That was directed to me, correct? So like I said, we took our recommendations to the architect and he thought the signage would suffice as that. But yes, we definitely could do those doors in those 3 locations.
Sure. Question for staff. I know there is discussion of a wall or a significant improvement. Would something like that meet a similar kind of standard and expectation, even if it's not a floor to ceiling wall, if it's something that is substantial to delineate the multiple suites or the multiple areas, but isn't necessarily within that original recommendation? Would that still kind of meet the staff's expectation?
It would.
Commissioners, do we have anybody else with comments or questions before we close the public hearing?
This is Commissioner Larcher. I'm good.
Okay, thank you. So with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing for the variance request from a department determination concerning a proposed address change for 2201 East Gala Street, Pyorm Family and Implant Dentistry.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. We close the public hearing for the variance request from a department determination concerning a proposed addressing change for 2201 East Gala Street by Orm Family and Implant Dentistry. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay.
Aye.
Motion passes. Public hearing is closed.
Mr. Chairman, can I interject just for a second? I just want,
Sir.
for the record, just want to make note that Commissioner Rivera has joined us in the chambers and is no longer online, so he's here on the dais.
Thank you very much. We go. Okay. So, who wants to go first? Anybody? I can throw my 2 cents in here quickly full disclosure, I was a shipboard firefighter, so I understand what Chief Bongiorno is explaining. There are times when you're in a panicked situation, basically for most people, you don't know how people are going to react or what's going to go on, if the building's going to be full of smoke, flames, or anything else. So it's difficult to say what's going to happen and when it's going to happen. But from the perspective that Chief Bongiorno is describing, I completely understand that. And I can sympathize with it. I've been in those positions before. City staff does have a precedent that's been set, of denying applications like this. So I think we're to the point now where if the applicant would like to get an approval on this, they'll have to, in my opinion, you're going to have to submit a plan that shows that you're going to split the suites. we've already continued it once in hopes that that would happen. We're kind of back to the same spot. So my preference would be to recommend denial, let it go to city council. If the improvements are made, city council can deal with that or not. The applicant can appeal to the city council the same way they've done here.
Mr. Chairman, if I could interject quickly.
Yes, sir.
Just for clarity, actually, the commission is the decision-making body on this, so the commission will either approve or deny the variance request. I will mention parenthetically, which is what Chair Sill may be thinking of, is that there is an appeal process to the city council, but just for clarity, the commission is the decision maker as to whether to grant or deny the variance request.
Okay, thank you for straightening me out on that.
Mr. Chair,
Go right ahead.
at risk of all the ox. All the questions that I've been asking in this is because I honestly came in to this hearing just genuinely not understanding some of the safety concerns and was trying to rack my brain. And I really thank Deputy Chief Bongiorno for clarifying some of that. That makes a lot more sense to me now. And I've been struggling with this. You know, my initial demeanor and position when someone comes before the commission saying, hey, there's this issue we're having and we need help, is to say, okay, absent something that's compelling, I'm inclined, my inclination is, okay, what can we do to help? And I'm seeing that compelling issue coming up now where I wasn't before. And so in light of that, I really do feel for you. I understand this is a tough decision, and also working with insurance companies, which there's plenty that can be said about this model. I feel like I agree with Mr. Chair. I agree with you that I think that there's something that could be a really simple solution to divide these suites in a way that still allows movement between them into the common space between one another's suite for common usage, for access to the sterilization area. It's a bit of probably a frustrating point to have to construct improvements to deal with something that really shouldn't be an issue from the business perspective to begin with. But I think that's probably the area, the way forward that makes the most sense, creates the least risk in response time, and still allows the business to function. As it seems that both the owners want to remain separate, not be one entity. It seems like this is kind of the best solution, or the least bad option going forward. And so for that, I'm inclined to, with sympathy and wishes that there was a different case, I'm inclined to.
Rivera, you have anything to add?
Mr. Chair. I can see both sides of this. I've been in my profession, I've worked with many commercial buildings, similar, where they have multiple tenants inside, and some whether it's law or in this case dentistry or other practices. And I've seen this before in the commercial world, but it's not always easy because you have a flowing system and a system that works, that was put together. But in every case that I've worked and I've met with these owners, there's always that, it comes back to the safety and building a wall or some kind of a to differentiate the suites has always been the first case for safety for them, for their patients, and for the fire department as well, along with police. So I've seen it come through where they work together and they meet and build whether it's a wall or something to differentiate the suites, and it's always worked out well. And at the end, I know it's not easy because you have a flowing system, But I think at the end, the priority is the safety of everybody. And so with that being said, I also am leading to denial on.
Thank you. Commissioner Lorcher, do you have anything to add?
No, I agree with the other commissioners.
Okay. Would you like to make a motion on this, please?
Sure.
Right ahead.
After hearing staff recommendations and all public testimony, I move to deny the variance request from a department determination concerning the proposed addressing change for 2201 East Gala Street, the Orm Family and Implant.
So a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the application for the variance request from a department of determination concerning a proposed address change 2201 East Gala Street by Orm Family and Implant Dentistry. All in favor of the denial, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you. Let me see. Okay, and with that, I'd like to open file number H 2022-0087 Noodles and Company at 10 Mile for a continuance to April 20th, 2023.
Chair.
Yep, go right ahead, Mr. Smith.
I move to continue file number H 2022-0087 to be heard on April 20th, 2020.
A second.
Been moved and seconded to continue file number H 2022-0087 for Noodles and Company at 10 Mile to April 20th, 2023. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Now we'd like to open file number H 2022-0094 for Chipotle, and we will begin the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the commission. The next request before you is a request for a conditional use permit. This site consists of 1.38 acres of land. It's owned CG, and it's located at 1737 South Meridian Road. This site was part of a larger development that was annexed back in 2004 with a development agreement and included as a lot in Medina subdivision. A property boundary adjustment is also in process to reconfigure the boundary of the lot. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is commercial. The applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a drive-through pickup window only for a Chipotle restaurant. Orders will be placed online through their app and picked up through the drive-through. A conditional use permit is required because the drive-through is within 300 feet of another drive-through establishment, a residential zoning district, and existing residences. The proposed development complies with the provisions of the existing development agreement and subsequent addendums. Access is proposed via an existing east-west, right-in, right-out driveway from State Highway 69 and South Meridian Road that runs along the southern boundary of the site at the east and provides access to the lots in Medina subdivision. Off-street vehicle parking is proposed in excess of UDC standards for restaurant use. Street buffer landscaping and a 10-foot wide pathway was installed along State Highway 69. I can't speak, Meridian Road with the subdivision improvements. Parking lot and perimeter landscaping will be installed with development of this site. Conceptual building elevations were submitted as shown for a single-story building that consists of stucco and EIFS finish with metal canopies and accents and glazing. The trash enclosure is proposed to be constructed of smooth face CMU and split face CMU, color matched to the building. The final design of the building is required to comply with the design standards listed in the Architectural Standards Manual. Written testimony has been received from the applicant, Jeff Likes, ALC Architecture, in agreement with the staff report, and he is available online tonight to provide testimony. Staff is recommending approval with the conditions in the staff report. Staff will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sonia. Would the applicant like to come forward, please?
I will be online, but thanks for hearing me tonight, Mr. Commissioner and Chair, Mr. and the Commissioners. On some circumstances I couldn't be there to present, so we're gonna hope we do it online. Sonia, is there a way I can have the screen share?
Yes.
Yep. We'll need you to
Moment.
state your name and address for the record, please, before we get too far down the road here.
Yeah, perfect. Jeff Likes, 1119 East State Street, Eagle, Idaho, 83616. Hopefully. Can you guys see the screen?
We had it a second ago, but now it's.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I had it up, Mr. Chair, and I stopped sharing. 'cause
Oh,
I thought
okay.
That was keeping him from sharing his screen. If
Gotcha.
you'd like me to put it up, I can, Jeff.
Yeah, Sonia, go ahead and put it up. I mean, we are in agreement with the staff report. I think you've seen the packet. I just kind of wanted to explain a few things. With this, looks like Sonia, if you can just take control, I can just tell you to flip forward through the slides if you don't mind. Again, we're here to talk about this drive-through. Considered a drive-through. A little different than a drive-through though. There is no speaker and there is no order board. As Sonia pointed out, it is a pickup only drive-through pickup window. They order on their app and they show up and they pick it up. They just opened one of these in East Boise. And people have tried to order and they've told them to go back and order on their app and when it's time to come pick it up. So next slide, please. So the proposed, I guess, zoning is a CG 1.38 acres. Currently it's vacant land. And as Sonia said, they're going through a property boundary adjustment, which the current sellers need to wrap a few things up to make that finalized. Next slide. So this is a larger project we have there. We have two projects that we'll be doing. If we receive approval on the Chipotle drive-through, we'll be submitting that for design review, CZC approval, as well as AFC, which stands for American Family Care. You've seen them around town. They're a quick dock in the box type place, along with about 1,100 square foot lease space next to that. We have 44 parking spaces, which gives us a 1 per 158 ratio. Next slide, please. As you know, our site location, southwest corner of Meridian and Overland Road, in between the Walgreens to the north and the existing Carl's Jr. to the south. And as Sonia pointed out, we take access, couple points of access. The main access in is South Meridian Road there with the right in, right out. But there is cross access all across the side, all the way over to Lowe's and back out to Overland. Next slide, please. Great, just to give you, this is our proposed site. We have aligned our western, most west driveway with the existing Walgreens driveways that goes through there to maintain a nice easy flow there. Some things to point out here. We did work with staff and their concerns with there used to be a full access there where our drive-through exits. There was an in and an out. Currently it exists today. Staff was concerned about people so close to the corner or so close to the entrance there at the right in, right out. And we agreed. So we have proposed to turn that to a one-way in, and then the drive-through has to go north to exit towards the Walgreens. At the north there by Walgreens, it is a two-way lane to enter that and exit that way. So everybody exits on that east side out the north. All the west parking, again, exits towards the north. And this project is a larger project. Like I said, the AFC, the retail, they share a patio, and then the Chipotle building there on the most southern part of it. Next slide. So like we've said, there was a couple things in the packet. The PBA is being, proper boundary adjustment is being finalized by the seller. Again, we're not a drive-through, just more of a pickup at this point. And I spoke about the one-way traffic to avoid conflicts with that main south drive aisle. Next slide. This is our landscape plan. But the landscaping all across Meridian is already existing. Meridian Road exists, so we're just meeting code standards there, making it a nice place, especially on the patio, to sit and eat and hang out. Next slide. Here's just some renderings. The last two slides are just some renderings of the overall project and how it will look. Next slide, please. And then just our last slide there is just an overall, again, rendering of that. And I will stand for any questions.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, we have any questions of the applicant or staff?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just looking at something really quickly on this application, and I want to confirm that I'm looking at this and understanding this correctly. Is there I want to say right between Chipotle and the North Space, is that a crosswalk that I'm looking at in that parking lot, that diagonally striped area?
Yeah, so Commissioner, Mr. Smith, correct? Is that who's talking?
That's correct.
Yes, thank you. Yes, so that is part of every development is to get back to the public right of way. And that is our way back to the public right of way along Meridian Road. That will be striped with a different material than the rest of the drive aisle. These are about every project you see is just that striping to get back to the public right of way.
Yep.
One other question, and I'm glad that this has been implemented in Boise. Hopefully you can speak to this. In terms of parking space, so this parking is adequate for restaurant usage. One thing that I don't know if I'm concerned about, but is just some food for thought. If you have any thoughts about customer behavior, is someone drives up, wants to order something, is told they need to order online. And much like a Culver's or a McDonald's or something, that they're told, there are certain spaces set aside for those places for delivery and bringing out. Are you at all worried, or have you seen anything about like customer behavior? For example, sitting and idling in parking spots, has that impacted parking at, for example, peak hours? Just thinking from a parking space, also from an air quality space, if there's confusion that results in people idling in parking spots, taking up those spaces and idling their cars. I'm just curious if you've seen that behavior anywhere else this has been implemented, and or if there are any steps being taken in terms of number of parking spots or location of parking spots to ameliorate that.
Yeah, Commissioner, Mr. Smith, we are not, I guess we haven't been given any of that information, how it is being received across, where they're implementing this. I just know they opened that one in East Boise, not even that long ago. Whether they put up pickup or whatever, I can't say to that, or if they'll sit in a parking space to wait.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rivera.
Thank you. Just to piggyback on Mr. Commissioner Smith, on the existing, you said there's already an existing location similar to this one. Is there signage? I'm afraid you have an urgent care next door, and as Commissioner Smith said, you have people that are going to come up assuming or thinking they're going to order there and going to come through there. I'm just afraid they're either going to be parked or take up all these parking spots to order, or be going in circles across the one way where you have patients next door crossing through the parking lot. And so you have these cars just going in circles or trying to order on their app and then coming back around and coming back around. Can you speak to that, or, from the existing building, or is there adequate, what kind of signage is there to make people aware that show up that didn't know they had to order on an app.
Right, Commissioner, Mr. Rivera, we cannot speak to that again. I would assume they put up signage, pick up only, order on your app. As we all know, I think people are used to it now since 2020, going there. Like Mr. Smith said, there may be spots and they may say, hey, these, especially in that back area where it's mainly going to be employee parking, hey, we've designated a few of these for waiting while you order, and then you get in line. I don't think it would last. I don't think people would be confused too long. I think once through and they realize that, oh, this is, a pickup, I'm going to order and I'm not going to leave my house until it's close to being done, or pick it up at lunch hour type of deal. And then the urgent care, I mean, we're not overly concerned with those people. I mean, we have enough parking spaces really as a whole, for plenty of parking, for both of those uses.
A quick question for staff on this, just, is there, because of the situation that they're in, as far as it being pickup only, what else would be required in order to make this just a regular drive-through, or have they satisfied all those requirements?
Chairman Seal, commissioners, if it was a regular drive-through, they'd be required to depict a menu board and speaker location on their plans. Those are the only two items that are different on this.
Okay.
They're still providing a stacking lane and escape lane, as is typically required.
Okay. Yeah, I asked that just for, 10 years in the future, if this is no longer a Chipotle, if it has this lane, they would want to put a drive-through.
I may add to that, Chairman Seal. Staff did include a condition of approval in there that if the use changes to a regular drive-through, that they would have to apply for either a new conditional use permit or a modification for this one. So
Okay.
that does provide a little safety net if something changes in the future for us.
Okay, perfect. Anything else? No? Okay, would anybody like to testify on this application? Anybody in chambers?
We have signed up a Tim Grissom to speak. Okay, and there was no one online.
Okay. So seeing nobody would like to testify, would the applicant like to add anything?
Mr. Commissioner, Mr. Chair, I have nothing else to add to this application.
Any questions from our commissioners before we close the public hearing? Okay, can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate that. Can I get a motion to close file number 8, close the public hearing for file number H 2022-0094 for Chipotle?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2022-0094 for Chipotle. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Commissioner Lorcher? Do we lose?
Aye, sorry about that.
Okay, no problem. Just want to make sure you weighed in. Any opposed? Nay? Right, public hearing is closed. I'll just start off. This seems pretty straightforward to me. I understand the concern about the parking and how, people might be confused by this, go around, park, load the app, come around, and that might require its own stacking. But at the same time, they do have an exit lane or an escape lane there that could possibly be used for that as well. So as much as I'd like to try and figure out all the human behavior that's involved in all this stuff, it's nearly impossible until you actually see it in a location. So I don't have any issues with this. And there's already a drive-through that's just south of this. It's kind of a funky corner in there. So getting in and out of there is a little tough, especially if you're looking at somebody that's just coming from the freeway, looking to get back on the freeway. That could be a little troublesome, but if they want their Chipotle, that's what they're going to do. Go right ahead.
I agree. I don't think there's really too many issues. And the one concern, if you call it a concern, is a minor one. Like you said, there's no way to know consumer behaviors. The only thing I'd probably like to see just added is some language asking that they work with staff and consider what we're seeing in that Boise location to see if it's an issue, and if it's not, that's fine. But just for that to be a consideration and discussed, and if there's there that they be factored in. But beyond that,
Okay, and for this one, we are the approving body, so the buck stops here. Commissioner Rivera, would you like to add something, or?
Again, I think it's just part of our growth, right? And where our future is going. And I'm assuming in a way, I do appreciate the exit lane, and, for the consumer is going to take some time to understand that you just can't, order is going to be different. I believe it, I think Chipotle uses Uber Eats and Grubhub. So it might even be, beneficial if they can pick up through the orders through the drive-through instead of, having to park and go in and out, maybe, I don't know, but that might be something that could help the business as well. But yeah, I feel comfortable having the escape lane there for those consumers that are going to go through the adjustment of learning this new drive-through style. Yeah, I really don't see any other concerns.
Okay. Commissioner Orchard, do you have anything to add, or possibly a motion?
I agree with the other commissioners.
I'll take a motion. Somebody wants to try? Go right ahead.
after considering all staff, applicant and public testimony, I move to approve file number H-2022-009-4 as presented in the staff report for the hearing dated March 16th, 2023, with the following modifications. Just to add a condition that the applicant continues to work with staff to consider potential changes to driver behavior at other locations where this is implemented, and need to work with staff to address that driver behavior change if it does exist.
Well, and Bill, I'll ask, when we approve this, there is no more working with staff, correct? Okay.
Okay.
So.
Would I be able to make that contingent upon the applicant's agreement to? I recant my additional modifications and then just add a request that be considered by the developer on a non-binding fashion.
Okay, we have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve file number H-2022-0094 for Chipotle with no modifications. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, and with that, I would like to open file number H-2022-0082 for Delano Apartments, and we'll begin with staff report.
Mr. Chair, give me just a moment to switch gears here and get my presentation up. Alrighty, the next application before you is a request for a conditional use permit. This site consists of 3.49 acres of land. It's zoned R40 and it's located at 3850 North Center Point Way. This property was annexed back in 2020 with the requirement of a development agreement, and a final plat was approved and recorded to subdivide the property. The comprehensive plan future land use map designation is mixed use regional. A conditional use permit is proposed for a multifamily residential development consisting of 84 apartment units in 4 3-story structures on 3.49 acres of land in the R40 zoning district. The gross density of the development is 24 units per acre, which is consistent with the density desired in the MUR designation. and the conceptual development plan included in the development agreement. This property was entitled to develop with 4 3-story structures with up to 96 apartment units, and that was entitled with the annexation in the development agreement. Access is proposed at the west boundary of the site via North Center Point Way, a collector street. A cross-access ingress egress easement exists through this property that provides access to the undeveloped parcel to the east from Center Point and will also provide an emergency access to the site from Eagle Road. The proposed development complies with and exceeds the qualified open space, site amenity, and parking standards. A total of 0.65 acre of common open space is proposed, consisting of a 5,000 square foot central common open space area and common areas of at least 20 feet by 20 feet in area, which exceeds the minimum standards by 0.17 of an acre. Some of the area is located adjacent to a collector street and buffer, which isn't allowed unless approved by the commission with a conditional use permit. So that is something that is under your consideration tonight specifically. A clubhouse with a fitness facility, a covered patio with a barbecue and covered seating at the clubhouse, a pickleball court, and internal pedestrian walkways and charging stations for electric vehicles are proposed as amenities. A minimum of 158 off-street parking spaces are required, including guest parking. A total of 168 spaces are proposed, which exceeds the minimum standard by 10 spaces. Conceptual building elevations were submitted as shown that depict pitched roofs with architectural asphalt shingles, vertical fiber cement board and batten siding, fiber cement horizontal lap siding with stone wainscot accents. Final design is required to comply with the design standards in the Architectural Standards Manual. These do differ a little bit in style from those conceptually approved in the development agreement, but staff is in favor of the proposed elevations as they are more consistent with the surrounding residential development. Written testimony has been received from Becky McKay, Engineering Solutions, in agreement with the staff report, and she is here to testify tonight. There have been several letters of testimony received on this application that are in the public record for your review. Some of the items of discussion from the public request the structures along the north and west boundaries of the site to be limited to 2 stories in height to better transition to the existing single-family home to the north and future uses on that property, which is designated as mixed use along with the property to the east. Other testimony notes that the development is too dense and doesn't have enough parking to adequately serve the development. These things, as I mentioned, the number of units is actually reduced from that the property was entitled to develop with, and it was also entitled to develop with 3-story structures as is proposed. So there's not a lot of changes we can make there. They do have those entitlements in place. Staff is recommending approval with the conditions in the staff report. Staff will stand for any questions.
Thank you, Sonia. Appreciate that. The applicant like to come up. Good evening. Name and address for the record. Floor is all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. I'm Becky McKay with Engineering Solutions, business address 1029 North Rosario and Meridian. I'm representing Challenger Development on this particular application. As Sonia indicated, we are requesting a conditional use permit for 84 multifamily residential units on approximately 3.49 acres. The property is already zoned R40, which is a high density residential zone. It's located.
Happy to advance the slides if you need me to.
Technical difficulty.
That's been our theme tonight.
Yeah, kind of been the theme. You're right. So the property is just located west of North Eagle Road and south of Wainwright Drive. As Sonia indicated earlier, it was part of the Delano subdivision, which was basically within that mixed use regional and medium density residential area. So that original plan that was approved had what we call a layered zoning that had the R40 adjacent to the commercial component that's existing. Then it transitioned to R15, then it transitioned to R8 as you got up to Alpine Point. We have so R15 that is located to the west. We have an RUT parcel between the subject site and the Alpine Point parcel. And then to the east is Boise city limits, and that is zone general commercial with a design review overlay. And then to the south, we have the Brickyard Apartments, which has a zoning designation of CG. This property obviously was annexed and zoned. There was significant discussion on transitioning and mixed use and compliance with the comprehensive plan. And it was determined by the Plan Zoning Commission, the City Council back in 2020, that this layered effect with the zoning as the intensity goes, or as you go north, the intensity of the development declines and the zoning intensity declines. This particular subject site is Lot 2, Block 6 within the Delano subdivision. It will take primary access off of Center Point Way, which is a commercial collector roadway. We did hold 2 neighborhood meetings on this particular project. One of the primary concerns was vehicular connection in the future to Wainwright Drive as development moves forward, because we do not have direct connection to Wainwright. Secondary concern was brought up, the fact that the R4 zoning, R40 zoning, would that potentially set a precedent for the undeveloped property that's to the north of our subject site? My comment to the neighbors when they brought up that concern was, the city of Meridian is always supportive of some type of a transitioning, so that we don't have 3-story. Whoa, what's going on, Bill? So that we don't end up with 3-story apartments next to low-density, single-family dwellings. Oh, you had it up. Yep. Came up, and then it disappeared. There it is. We got 2 mics. Is it on now? Okay. But you can see the subject site.
We can't have the computer in them.
Is that better?
Is that gonna work? No. Speak loudly.
Yeah, we gotta get you the microphone.
Joy, you have an opportunity. Could you put the clock back to about 11 minutes, please?
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, Becky McKay. As you can see, this is a vicinity map of this particular area. The subject site is located here. There's the Brickyard Apartments here. The R15 of the Delano and the R8 is located to the north of it. This mixed-use regional area was intended with Center Point Way, obviously, to be a collector roadway. Wainwright is the mid-mile collector. To the east is Cameron Park, which that was a subdivision that I did all the planning and project management. Madison Park, I did that subdivision. So that's R1B. I did Zebulon #1, which is in Boise City. That was designated LO for limited office. And it was determined that Wainwright would be the mid-mile collector with a future signalization. I did Milford Creek here, which is an R8 designation. And then I did Alpine Point, which is R4. And then I also designed Champion Park. So I've done quite a bit in this vicinity. One of the issues that we encountered when doing Alpine Point and Zebulon office portion was interconnectivity to the south. At the time, these were 5-acre RUT lots under Ada County jurisdiction with estate homes on them. So these residents were extremely reluctant to allow me to stub to their properties. They testified at my hearing that they had no intention of ever developing their properties, and they did not want any stub streets. They did not want any sewer or water stubs. When we went through the city of Boise, Boise City required that we provide an easement here for potential interconnection in the event that the 5-acre parcels were to develop in the future. ACHD has purchased that easement. And then when I did Alpine Point, as you can see, I did a landscape buffer in the event that that ever became a public street connection. The city of Meridian, when I did Alpine Point here, required that we stub Dashwood. And what this gentleman here, he even hired an attorney, threatened to sue the city, sue us for providing that stub street and the utilities there. So it was quite difficult to, try to plan for the interconnectivity, but it was always intended and still is on the master street map that Wainwright is the collector. And I worked with ITD to get that signalized. I fought for years to get that a signalized intersection. Since we had a daycare, we had significant residential development and an outlet to U-Stick, and then the office development. Let me switch here. This kind of shows you what's transpired out there with the rest of the Delano project. So obviously they put in the streets, they've extended Center Point Way. They have platted this particular lot here. There's emergency vehicle access out here to Jasmine Lane as our secondary access. All the multifamily buildings that are proposed are 3-story, consistent with the development agreement that was approved by the city of Meridian in 2020. It also indicated that there would be approximately 4 buildings with 3 stories. They were approved for 96, a maximum of 96 units. And what's before you this evening is 84. We have building type 1, which is the larger buildings that you see, and they have 24 units per building. And then the smaller building right here is building C, which houses 12 units. In the particular site plan, the clubhouse is located. This is the clubhouse here. So the entrance is off of Center Point Way, which is a collector. You come in, and then the clubhouse, the office, the management, and the amenities are located at this location here. We have a pickleball court here. We have internal pathways and a patio plaza area with an outdoor barbecue. The amenities the total open space in this project is 40,438 square feet, or just shy of an acre. Our qualified open space is about 28,300 square feet at 0.65 or 18.6%. The proposed amenities that are required under the code based on the multifamily development include the clubhouse, a game room within the clubhouse, a community gathering area in the clubhouse, an exercise room, an office, and a covered patio, and then a barbecue and kitchen area on the exterior, along, as I indicated, with the pickleball court and grassed open areas. Scroll. There we go. This shows you the elevations of the building. It says front elevations, but these are also the rear elevations. As you can see that there's modulation, in the building, utilizing different materials. The roof lines are varied. So on the ends and across the entire elevation of the structure. This is the clubhouse. As you can see, it's kind of a new urban type look. It has masonry, different vertical lines, a mixture of different textures, and different roof lines to add diversity. You can see that these are the different elevations of that structure. We have outdoor patio area. And you can see, it's kind of tough on this one, but you can see that there's seating areas, there's barbecue kitchen area outside. This shows you, can I get rid of that? There we go. This shows you the floor plan of the clubhouse. So the clubhouse has a game room. It has a gathering room. There's a 2-sided fireplace. There's also the exterior here. We have a barbecue kitchen area and then covered patio gathering area on the exterior with restrooms, the management office, maintenance. So here we just list the amenities. As I indicated, each unit will have a private deck or balcony. And then we have our centrally located clubhouse with the internal amenities and the pickleball court. This is the utility plan. One of the things that we worked with Public Works diligently to make sure that we got a redundant source of water. So we're bringing in, there's water stubbed here. We're bringing water in here, which we will loop through the site. and then sewer is stubbed. So all utilities to this particular lot are available and capacity does exist. We've provided the 30-foot easement as required for any sewer and water located within the drive aisles. We're not allowed to have any of our water meters or any of your utility easements encroach in the carports. And we have complied with all the requests of Public Works. We worked with Tyson Glock to make sure that everything met their requirements. This shows you the landscape plan, so that kind of gives you a better idea. We have landscape buffering along the north, trees. We have 2 trash enclosures, one on the north, one on the south. And then as you can see, this is the clubhouse and the patio area. And then there are internal pathways that basically provide linkage to that amenity. And then we have the pickleball court over here. There is a separate 20-foot wide collector landscape lot there. And then we do meet the setbacks. We've reviewed the staff report and have sent responses to Sonia. I was out of town and had difficulty flying back in. And so they did come in late. They probably didn't get into your packet, but Sonia, I'm sure, has reviewed them. They basically indicate that we concur with all the staff recommendations and conditions of approval. This particular project is obviously providing that multifamily component that is required in those mixed-use regional areas where we have employment centers. We have Eagle Road as a major state highway and a transit corridor. So, you know, based on good planning, based on your comprehensive plan, the city is looking for obviously a mixture of uses, which would include retail, office, small commercial, townhomes, single family, and multifamily. We're meeting that multifamily component. Do you have any questions?
Very much. Commissioners, do we have any questions for the applicant or staff?
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Smith, go ahead.
One question out of curiosity, and also I think this might play into some discussion in the public comment. Looking at the development agreement with kind of that initial layout, is there a reason that kind of that clubhouse was moved more central to the development rather than on the outside? In light of comments about potentially a more gradual transition in elevation, et cetera.
Mr. Chairman, Councilman Smith, that's a good question. Initially, in our original submittal, we had the clubhouse located right here at this corner. The problem that we encountered was with Public Works and meeting the design standards where we had to provide 30-foot clear easement width if we had sewer and water both located within the drive aisle. Even though your drive aisle width, according to the zoning ordinance, is 26 feet for 3-story buildings. Due to that issue where we had to meet Public Works requirements, we relocated the clubhouse to this location. Then that allowed us to widen this area and meet the easement and separation of sewer and water. We did explore trying to connect the clubhouse to the end of the building. We looked at every available option and sent multiple examples over to Tyson Glock at Public Works. And he commented, and this is where we ended up in order to meet Public Works standard.
Any other questions for the applicant or staff?
Mr. Chair, members of the commission, if I could just add on to what Becky said, that was one component of it. The other component is the multifamily standards, open space standards changed. And this particular project has to provide a 50 by 100, 5,000 square foot area. And so by keeping that clubhouse there, it was going to be more difficult for her to get that. So I think that kind of drove the design as well. Just wanted to put that on the record as well.
Thank you, Bill. Okay. Madam
We
Clerk?
have Laura Treratnaba, or I apologize now.
I'll just say, Laura, come on up. If you could talk into the microphone. Can we turn the display off and then turn the microphones back on?
Let's see if this one, yeah.
Oh.
Commissioners and chairman and staff, I am Laura Triratinopat from 4621 North Camas Creek Way in Alpine Point. And first of all, thank you to Ms. McKay for her excellent presentation. It was very clear. The only thing I feel unsure about right now is the parking. If you go just south of this proposed location, you will find the Brickyards Apartments, another 3-story apartment complex that was approved a couple of years ago. I'm sure it was approved with whatever the code says is adequate parking. However, if you take your bicycle like I do and ride through there on weekends, you will find that the overflow parking is everywhere. People simply do not have 2 adults per apartment with 2 cars. People are living together with roommates. You've got 3, 4 cars for one apartment. And my concern is that we are going to have the same mess outside this apartment complex as we do with the Brickyards. The Statesman ran a story about 2 weeks ago about parking violations in Meridian and how they've gone up. And one of the hot spots was, guess what? The Brickyard Apartments. People are parking in the fire lanes. They're parking, they're on both sides of the street so that only one car can get through. So I really want you to take a good look at the parking issue, especially with this 3-story apartment, which is going to be very dense. The other issue, of course, is Wainwright. No one in Alpine Point, when we bought our homes, was told or knew or had any way of finding out that this was going to be a collector street going directly into our subdivision. Now, if I thought that everyone from Center Point was simply going to take a right and go east to the light, a block, it wouldn't bother me, but I'm pretty sure half of those people are going to take a left, cut through Alpine Point at high speeds in order to get to McMillan. McMillan is a major road nowadays with a lot of traffic on it. A lot of the schools in that area are to the west, and so McMillan is the natural place to go. So I don't want to overrun my time. I just want to say, please think carefully, because the decisions that you folks make, as you know, are going to affect the quality of life in our valley long after all of us in this room are gone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions?
No, thank you very much. Madam Clerk?
Jim, come on up. I'm going to save your last name. You could please step over there.
Chairman, Commissioners, thank you for having us this evening and lending your time to this. For the record, Jim Austin, 4019 North Brooksburg Place, Alpine Point, 8 years, 28 in. Got my bags.
Not quite.
See you then. 8 years in Alpine and 28 in Meridian. Enjoyed it. Thank you for your consideration tonight. I echo a lot of the comments from Laura on this as well. A little context on this that she hit on a little bit right now was the Brickyard. To the south is 3 stories. Delano, the subdivision, had twice the distance to resolve 3 stories down to 1 where Alpine is. My house butts right up against that. So we go from an R40 down to an R4 in that amount of distance. Okay, we fought for 3 years to try to get a decent plan to do so under that. Now we're proposing 3 stories to take up half that distance and then leave the rest of the half of that distance now to resolve the rest of it. So we're going to go from R40 down to 1 story in half that distance. That's going to represent a serious problem in the future when the Wong property, which is the one that's represented on the north of this piece, eventually sells. As we see, nope, nobody will ever sell, nobody will ever do that. Yes, they do. We know this has to happen. I know development is part of it. We all have to make room in the best way possible. That's what we're after on this too. A little more graceful transition from one thing to the other. Parking was the other part that Laura hit on. We all have the newspaper ad that came out on that. Centerpoint was the highlight of that. It is a commercial connector, as was pointed out here. That's incredible to see on that, and this will only add to congestion of that street. We're going to make a bad situation worse by introducing even more with that. Going to have right now 2 cars per unit, which is allowed. Is scheduled on that. I understand that's fine, but again, it's not reasonable to think that every American owns 1.5 cars. So that's what's going to be happening there. We all have other friends, etc., roommates and all of that stuff. It's not going to be 1 person per bedroom in those units. It's naive to think so on that. My proposal is that the project is limited on the stories and the number of stories that border, of course, the north and the west, if possible. I don't know if that is possible or not. It would be nice to see that. The parking, of course, is a major issue on this. The other eventuality to the north of that with Alpine is that we are now the de facto octopus of this whole thing. When Centerpoint finally is broken through, and it will at some point, that will make 5 different connection points to our subdivision. So if we add even more congestion to that, it's going to make the problem worse. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Paul Miller.
Okay. Oh, sir, if you want to speak, go ahead and come on up and grab a microphone, please. Need to have it on public record. Thank you. We'll have you. Yep. We'll give everybody a comfortable chair this evening. Just need your name and address for the record.
My name is Paul Miller. I live at 4294 North Linwood Way, Meridian, Idaho. I'm on the HOA board for Alpine Point. I think my biggest question is with this centerline project that, and I want to find out when they thought about putting centerline through there, did they think about it when it was zoned R4, or did they think about, this is probably going to be R40? And so did they do all the statistics on how much traffic was going to run through Centerpoint when it was R4 only? Or did they do all the numbers when it was R40? Because if you look at that, you only got maybe 50 yards to the stoplight. And then on the other side of the street, you have Wainwright, and there's like 8 huge apartment complexes there that run on Records Road. I'm sure they didn't think about all those apartment complexes either. So during the day, everything backs up on Wainwright now on the east side. It's because everybody's trying to get to Eagle Road. And then they come over from our subdivision, which is 211 homes, just draining into Wainwright and getting off of there. Now we're going to have 84 more homes. And as he said, nobody has 1.1 car. And the way everyone's living with everybody now, because they can't afford homes, they're all shacking up and sharing homes. They're going to have a lot more cars there as well. Where I'm going with this is how many cars, I'm not sure what the lady's name is. Name him? Becky. Becky, when you were doing this whole thing back in the day, what were your traffic studies for that? How many do you know how many cars are going to go through all those 5 roads that we have through Alpine Point to McMillan, and how many are going to come back in? Because right now we've got a raceway on a couple of them. And we still don't have, help me out with the other subdivision that just got put in. It's going to go through Kingston, that goes through Rogue River. Rogue River Way, which is going to come through and go out through Alpine Point as well. So do you have any idea how many cars that is?
Sir, we'll finish the testimony and then the applicant will have a chance to address your questions. She's taking notes over here.
Oh,
Right.
perfect.
Thank you, Bill.
I don't know how it
Appreciate that.
works. So anyway, that's kind of all I have to say, except, and I don't know how many more apartment complexes we need there, around there. Drive down Record Street. Have you guys driven down Record Street at all? Yeah, it's all apartments down there. I know. Where are you guys gonna put the traffic? No, anyways, thank you very much, gentlemen, for letting me bend your ear, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Mr. Chair, I have no one signed up online, or that was, Mr. Miller was the last.
Okay, do I have anybody in there? Sir, come on up. Out of habit, I was almost going to steer you back towards the podium, not forgetting what we were doing tonight.
Thanks for the comfortable chairs. We appreciate that.
You're very welcome.
My name is Robert Hartley, 4084 North Brooksburg Place, Meridian, Idaho 83646. Our house is on the east side of Brooksburg. Of course, our backyard will be against the eventual extension of Centerpoint Way. It's been indicated by our neighborhood outreach committee that maybe there's not enough right-of-way width available right now for adequate construction of Centerpoint Way. And I'd appreciate it if Becky could address this as far as the adequate width, and if more width is needed, that would come out of the commercial area or out of the buffer against our back fence. Plus the fact, I think that going from R4 to R40 and a couple 100 feet is a bit tight. It's basically all of it.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Any questions for that? No.
Lived there since we were the 30th house in Alpine Point, so we've been there a while.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anybody else like to testify? Seeing none, the applicant like to, I won't say come back up, so you're right there in your comfortable chair, so.
Members of the commission, Mr. Chairman, Becky McKay. I'll address, Laura had the comment concerning the brickyard parking. And you guys, since that particular project has been constructed, that was under the older parking standards. So now the new parking standards do require guest parking. So we do have guest parking that's provided. Obviously, anytime we do the multifamily projects, parking is always a hot button discussion. And we have some projects where, the city of Boise claims they're over parked. We have some projects that, other municipalities believe they're under parked. And so everybody's been working diligently to try to find that balance. And Meridian has done a good job. Your staff is, has been obviously in the forefront of figuring that out. Obviously, as we move forward through time, if parking continues to become an issue, I'm sure those parking requirements may go higher. I'm happy that a lot of these people live in Alpine Point. They're proud that they live there. And when we did Alpine Point, we provided stub streets based on the Ada County Highway District and the city of Meridian. And we did do a traffic impact study for Alpine Point that evaluated the adjoining property. And at the time, they looked at what the comp plan designations were on the map. Now, over time, since we did that in 2004, comp plan designations have changed over time. And that's not unusual. Now, as each project comes in, such as the Brickyard, such as Delano subdivision, they were required to do a traffic impact study based on current standards, taking into consideration the existing traffic, the projected traffic based on the Compass growth models, and then any approved projects that had not been constructed. And I did review the Ada County Highway District report for the Delano subdivision when it initially came through, showing the 96 units within this parcel. And they indicated that there was capacity to handle the traffic, an acceptable level of service for a collector roadway is a level of service D. This project, it indicated did not have frontage on Wainwright. As far as making that connection to Wainwright, will that happen? ACHD obviously purchased that property from Todd Amix, who was the original developer. And as far as the right-of-way widths can vary. And sometimes they're smaller than is typical. A collector can be 50 foot in width, collector can be 60, but we also have collectors that are less. The improved width is, what's important. 33 foot residential collectors are typically what we see, or a 36 foot wide residential collector. But when they have a constrained area to work within, sometimes the highway district will have a narrower right-of-way width. I don't anticipate them taking out that landscape buffer that we provided between that easement that now is right-of-way, because it was solely intended to buffer your lots that could potentially in the future back up to either a private interconnection drive or a public street. And they would have to purchase that and obviously, get you guys to agree. I wouldn't, and I don't see them doing that. In my discussions with them, they're going to work within the width that they have already acquired. But they have modeled the traffic all throughout this area. And, they're trying to disperse that traffic to the best of their ability. And one of the things with that mixed use regional is trying to keep the traffic so that it's not traveling as long a distance, that maybe the people that live in these apartments will work at Kohl's or work at the sporting goods store or C-store and won't be driving out on Eagle Road. I mean, that people will be able to walk over, bike, and shop there without creating vehicle trips. You know, that's kind of the model of mixing those uses in together. But you are on a transit corridor. And like I said, it took me years and years to fight with Idaho Department of Transportation to get that signal. And we were so happy when we finally accomplished it. And we basically, you know, told them that due to the number of homes that have been built and the daycare especially, that safety was a critical issue. And there were significant wrecks out there when there was no light. So the problem is when you've got the light and you got the collector, then, you know, other traffic will come that direction because that's the safest exit out to Eagle Road. But they do look at the overall transportation in the area. Does the commission have any questions?
Commissioners, any questions? I think you answered everything that, but every note that I had is now checked off. So, and thank you for the description and of everything that you've done in there. I quit writing down all of it, and my note is just Becky is to blame. So.
That's funny you say that because I did have a traffic engineer that worked at the Ada County Highway District tell me that, you know, Eagle Road is your fault. When I did Madison Park, it was a 2-lane rural road, no curb, gutter, sidewalk, nothing. And it exploded.
Yeah, it has grown up for sure.
It's a big boy now.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Appreciate it. And with that, I will take a motion to close the public hearing for file number H 2022-0082.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to close the public hearing for file number H 2022-0082 for Delano Apartments. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Commissioner Lorcher, you still with us?
Aye. Yes. Did you hear me or no?
Lose Commissioner Lorcher again.
I'm here. I said aye.
Commissioner Lorcher, we can't hear you if you're trying to speak. Not muted.
Can you hear me?
It's registering that she's talking. It's just not.
Yeah, we're not able to hear. Maria, do you want to try and jump off and then jump back in? I just want to make sure that you're fully in for this.
Maria, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I just got a text from her with the same, so we will close the public hearing with that. But we do need to figure out her audio so she can speak to this. Who would like to go first?
Cheryl, I can.
Yep. Mr. Smith, go right ahead.
Mr. Chairman, can I recommend that we wait till Commissioner Lorcher returns?
Okay.
I think she's trying to sign on again and be best for her to participate.
Gotcha. Sorry, didn't realize she had dropped off. Okay. We'll give her just a minute.
Chair, would you like to take maybe a 5 or 10-minute break, allow us to get this corrected, and then maybe come back and.
That
I'm
sounds like
here.
a perfectly
Can you hear
good
me?
idea. So yeah, we'll take a 5-minute break and we'll be right back.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Andy,
Maria, can you hear me?
Joy, I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me? I'm here. Can you hear me? Hello?
Maria, can you hear me? Go ahead and call in by phone using the phone number that is on the agenda. Can you do that? Thank you. Can you hear me now? Unmute yourself and you can talk. Maria, can you hear me? Maria. You need to unmute yourself, Maria.
Okay, can you hear me now? Joy?
Well, she's on now. Oh,
Joy, can you hear
Maria,
me?
can you please? Okay, you're not muted anymore. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Joy. Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay. What's the number?
Joy?
Okay, Maria, we have one more trick up our sleeves. Please dial
Okay.
208-489-1405, please.
Still there, Maria?
I am, Bill.
We can hear you. Okay. All right, everybody, we're going to get back to it here. All right, if everybody could take their seats, we're going to get back to it. Thank you. All right, who would like to go first? Maria, we'll let you go first if you'd like to.
Commissioner Seal, I've heard all of the testimony from the applicant, and I have heard the comments from the neighborhood. I believe the Delano subdivision was kind of in a master plan for a long time. As far as multifamily housing is concerned, this is the right place for it. I know traffic is always going to be an issue, and it's going to give tow companies a great opportunity to make a lot of money once these people start parking illegally. And once their cars are being taken, it'll stop relatively soon. I'm in support of this project.
Thank you very much. Mr. Smith, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm sympathetic to a lot of the concerns. I think I'm in a unique position as also a member of the Transportation Commission, informed by some of the, and I want to share some of my thinking around this. It does seem like there are some things that aren't, ideal. I know that there's, for example, no existing transit connection, but if I read the staff report correctly, but Compass is optimistic about its potential for future connectivity, things like that. But thinking about parking and speed, parking, it sounds like there's an enforcement issue. It sounds like it, and I agree. I agree with the comments that once MPD has people there and people are getting tickets consistently, people don't like paying money unnecessarily, from what I've seen, and that can be abated over time. It's obviously a constant struggle and a constant effort, but if it's a hot spot, I would wager MPD already is aware of it. But if not, that's an avenue to pursue. Additionally, in terms of speeding, thinking about the concern about people speeding in the neighborhood because of additional development, I understand it. Fortunately, there are things that ACHD can do. Traffic calming, if they can do studies, they can based on the results, based on speed studies. Essentially, in their policies, they can put in. They're doing speed bumps now, is what they're called. They can do things like that, and additionally, looking at the agency comments, interfacing with these people more frequently on the Transportation Commission. ACHD having no concerns, ITD having no concerns, Compass having no concerns. These are really intelligent, thoughtful people. Don Wasson, for example, at ACHD is a wealth of knowledge on this kind of stuff. And if these departments don't have these concerns and are confident in the ability of these streets to operate at service levels that are adequate, there are things that can be ameliorated down the line. If you are facing that, I don't know if this is. I think this is okay to say, but Kurt, let me know if it's not. I highly encourage you to come to a Transportation Commission meeting and voice these concerns if you have them. But on the planning and zoning side and on the CP side, it seems like the DA entitles them to, I think it was 96 units. They're backing down from this. It's an area that's meant for high density housing. It's in the comp plan. That comp plan was already where that comp plan was established this as that area with Alpine Village already existing. It seems like these things kind of line up. And as much as I'm sensitive to the concerns, I think these are things that can over time be reduced. The one thing I don't really see a way around the height concerns. North and west, that's 4 out of 5 buildings that abut the north and west end of the property. So putting a limit on a 2-story limit, not counting the clubhouse, that's 3 out of the 4 buildings. That seems like a massive cut density in that area. So with that, I'm in support with just the conditions that are in the staff report. No further modifications. I understand the concerns, but I think net this is going to be a benefit to our community and into the area. And yeah, there are going to be some growing pains just with increased density in the area, but I think this is net good. Support it.
Sorry, Rivera, go right ahead.
Chairman, thank you. I'm in agreement with comments made by our fellow commissioners. I appreciate Laura, Jim, Robert, everybody from Alpine Point for their concerns and their comments. With that being said, I also feel, based on the commentary tonight, that Ms. Becky's also doing everything she can to accommodate and do the best that she can, staying within, compliance to make it a win-win for everybody. The traffic light on Wainwright was a big win for the community and for the safety to come in and out of Eagle Road. Like it was said before, the comp plan does call for the high density there. But with that, I stand to also approve this recommendation.
Okay. Yeah, similar thoughts as my fellow commissioners on this. It was good to have a better understanding of how Center Point Way does play into this, and I agree it's probably going to be very difficult to punch that through to Wainwright at some point in time. I think eventually it will happen, more than likely. Eventually they'll probably try and squeeze something through there unless the other parcels sell and we are immediately offered some relief in regards to that instead. So as far as the layout and everything, I actually like the fact that the clubhouse was moved a little bit. Instead of people driving in immediately parking where there are, they've been able to disperse that a little bit. The fact that there is no sidewalk by the pickleball court. When I first looked at this, for some reason, I thought there was a sidewalk that was going by the pickleball court out to Center Point Way, but there isn't one. And I'm actually happy to see that, because that would promote people to park on Center Point and go use the pickleball courts, which we don't want them to do. So, ample parking, ample open space. And I've been here long enough to see that the parking standards have changed. So hopefully some of the problems that you're seeing in the Brickyard, you're not going to see specifically with this piece of the development that's here. I do sympathize. I'm a loyal user of Fast Eddie's. I come in from Ustick, so I traverse down Center Point Way to Baldy Cypress Street. And I can tell you, even zooming in on the little on the Google Earth thing here, that the same Volkswagen has parked on that corner that's been there for about 3 months. So, parking and everything there is it's an issue. There's no other way to put it, but I think that the way that this came in and the fact that it's already entitled to develop that way and it's being done in a responsible manner, I think it's a fit for the community. Multifamily large apartment complexes are not something that I'm familiar with, as far as being my cup of tea or not. I would definitely rather not live close to them. I don't currently, so, but they are going to develop in areas like this. So Eagle Road is a major corridor. So you know, like Becky indicated, we're going to try and build these multifamily complexes in places where people can live, work. That's the idea. That's the hope and the concept of it. So, you know, we don't have to bring other people in from, you know, a bedroom community, kind of like Meridian used to be. We were a sleepy little town. With that, I'd stand in support of this as well. So instead of rambling on, I'll just let one of my fellow commissioners continue on or make a motion.
Chair.
Commissioner Smith, go right ahead.
After considering all staff, applicant, and public testimony, I move to approve file number H 2022-0082 as presented in the staff report for the hearing of March 16th, 2023, with no additional modifications.
A second.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve file number H 2022-0082 Delano Apartments with no modifications. All those in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Motion passes, I should say. Thank you very much, everyone.
Mr. Chair, before we adjourn tonight, I just wanted to make an announcement for the commission. I wanted to let you know that next month is, sorry, I'm getting sleepy here. Appreciation for your volunteer work is on the commission, and the city will be honoring you in that effect. So I'll be following up with an email inviting you to join in that event, but I wanted to let you know that it is going to occur on April 20th, starting at 11:30. So if you're interested, again, I'll send out an email, RSVP with the mayor's office if you're planning on attending.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Are we all going to be, hopefully I get a half a car because apparently I'm missing half a car. I only have one. And with that, I will take one more motion.
Sure.
Go right ahead.
To adjourn.
Have a second?
Second.
It's been moved to adjourn. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
No opposed. We are adjourned. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Maria.
Are we smoking tonight?
She said she needed a cigarette. Bummer nerve.
About anything right now. Take care of the business at hand.